Hey there, welcome to Hiking for Health CA, my fun little YouTube channel that at least I'm having fun with it. Hopefully, some of you out there who are subscribed and watching, and even if you're not subscribed, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you would click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. I hope you're getting something out of it, whether it's just chuckling at me for even doing what I'm doing, or maybe some information on hiking, whatever. I hope you're enjoying it because I'm kind of having fun with it. And that's really the point, right? It's just whatever you're doing, do it for fun. This is kind of a special, not really an episode or anything. Usually it's hiker homily or a gear review or a trail report. This actually, because lately I've been getting some actual feedback. What? I know. But yeah, some of my videos and a few posts on Instagram and things like that actually are getting some feedback from people, and that's really cool because that's kind of part of the whole social aspect and things like that. So this is one of those comment. In the past, I've done a commentary type of thing as a hiker homily, but I've decided to kind of separate that because I have enough of them. So here we go. Let's talk about some of the comments I got. And the first one I got is from Tainted Mango. Awesome name. And this is talking about, I believe, the Arnold Rim Trail that I did a little hike report on. And they say, I just love those trails where you are pretty much alone. Makes for such a relaxing hike. Big red button activated. Hey, thank you for activating the big red button. I totally, that means subscribe, everybody. That's what that means. And I totally appreciate that. Thanks so much, Painted Mango. And I totally agree with you. And as I said in the comment when I answered your comment there online, and I try to do that as much as I can. Because right now I have a small channel. It's kind of easy when I do get comments and things like that to reply and stuff. So I do try to do that as much as I can. But I have found, as I said on my comment, that the secret really is trying to get to those places early. Like when I go to the Cosumnes River Preserve, if I want to do something more than just walk on levee roads and stuff, I mean, they work good to get some miles in for me and, keep me from just sitting on my butt and things like that. But when I want to get a little more in there, maybe see some more wildlife and things like that, I go to the Cosumnes River Preserve because it's only about 30-minute drive from me, if that. And I find if I get there right when the gates are opening, right, the volunteer who kind of opens things up and stuff usually is doing that by sunrise, but at least by 7:30ish in the morning. So I'll get there 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I know some people are like, holy mackerel, I'm not going to get that. But a lot of hikers, that's not that big of a deal. And I find that I mostly have the place to myself. I just get out there on the trails, and some of the people that come there are coming there for other things. They're going out to the bird watching deck to specifically watch the birds, or they go out just to the little part where you can see some of the wetland. But I'm hiking all over the place, including the back section when I can get to it, which is oak forest and stuff, and it pretty much is usually just mine. And you get there early. That seems to be the key. And it was the same thing on the Arnold Rim Trail. We got there fairly early, even though it was a bit of a drive for us. And the cross-country team I was with, they had the trail mostly to themselves, and so did I. Once I got out there, I saw like 2 mountain bikers, and they were pretty good guys, very polite, and that was the only people I saw on the entire trail for the whole morning. So, cool, right? And so I do agree, Painted Mango. It's really neat when you can get out there and get them for yourself. In regards to my gear review on the Buff, John Wimmer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, John. I have been pondering a Buff and have not seen any review on them. Thank you. Hey, you're very welcome. One of the reasons why I do those kinds of reviews, and by those kinds I mean on smaller items, is a lot of folks don't really bother to do that. But, a Buff being comfortable or some other smaller items, I have one coming up soon where I'm going to film a review of some of the cups that I got to do cold soaking in. A lot of hikers who do YouTube stuff and do gear reviews and things like that, they don't bother to review that smaller stuff. But I consider that smaller stuff just as important. in your trip. If you're going to be doing long distance backpacking and stuff, you need to know that even your small gear isn't going to fail you. Things like the buff, is it even worth it? Because as I said in that review, it wasn't something that I had ever even heard of or considered until I got back into hiking after taking kind of a long break, started looking at what was out there. Well, what is that thing? And then I found out, you know what, it's actually pretty versatile and it's a pretty good product. Check out that review if you haven't yet. Thank you, John. I appreciate the thanks for that. And yeah, I try to do reviews on not just the big stuff, and you're going to see those. I have reviews coming up on the tent that I generally use, a couple of different sleeping bags, a couple of different backpacks that I've used over time, and things like that. But smaller stuff too, because that's just as important when you're getting out on the trail. So thank you, and you're also welcome. Oh, talking about gear reviews, my gear review of my Hoka One ATR 5s. Go Through It says, I had been wearing that other brand of trail runner for at least that other brand. Remember, I didn't really name the other brand. There is a very popular brand. A lot of hikers like just, every time someone brings up a shoe, oh, you got to get the such and such brand. They're just and that's mainly because quite a few of the more quote unquote big name YouTube hikers that put their stuff on YouTube happen to use this brand. I'm not sponsored by the brand, so I'm not going to say it. And also because I'm not here to dig on the brand. I'm not, chopping at it or anything like that. I don't see anything wrong with the brand. It just didn't work for me, and I've heard other people say the same thing. That's just how it is with shoes. Some people like this particular type of shoes, and some people don't. So they use the other brand of the trail runner for at least the last 9 months or so. I got them believing that they were the best shoe available, went on a lot of hikes with them, and never had a blister. That's awesome. Loved how roomy the shoe was for me. The problem was the zero drop and a lack of cushion. I can see that being a problem, yes. The arch of my foot started to hurt at the 10-mile mark. That is definitely a problem if you're doing long-distance hiking and backpacking. On every hike I did, my heels and back of my calves also started hurting the more I walked in them. So the rep at the store, much like I said in my story for mine, asked if he had tried the Hokas before. They ended up getting the Torrents, which I didn't try on. I tried on a couple of Hokas. I ended up obviously with the Stinson model, but they went with the Torrents. Love them so far. Also tried Las Sportivas. Those were very, very narrow and small. I didn't try those on, but they just kind of looked it from what I saw in the store. Couldn't even get their foot in them. It amazes me that more people don't talk about the issues with the other brand. I'm starting to see more talk about that. Go Through It. But it is, I think, because it's an all of a sudden thing. All of a sudden, these shoes became very popular. And it's only been the last couple of years. And so now that they've kind of had this shakeout time, I think more and more hikers are finally coming forward because they're not afraid to go against the grain, Because they were like, so-and-so uses these, and so-and-so uses these. So they've got to be great. And so everybody started buying these. And they didn't want to be the ones to step up and say, yeah, I guess I'm not a real hiker because I really don't like these. They don't work for me. But finally, people are stepping up and saying that there are some issues. And I've seen a couple of stories, too, about how that other brand kind of deals with people saying, hey, I've put this many miles on them. That's not really that many miles for what's supposed to be a running shoe. And I'm getting wear in this area and holes in this area. That really isn't. And totally being blown off like, well, yeah, that's because you're using them for such and such, and that's just your problem. That's not good. Now, I don't even know about the Hokas because I haven't had that issue, how they would respond to it. I haven't heard any stories about it. Maybe the same thing, because it is. Part of the problem is we are taking these things that are supposed to be trail runners and we're using them as hiking shoes, and that doesn't always translate. But anyway, that was the big thing, was the cushion and the space it gave my extra wide foot is why I went with the Hokas. None of the other stuff that I tried on, I didn't try on the Las Sportivas, but I tried on several different types of the other brand. I tried on several brands, but it was the Hokas that finally said, yes, this is the one that gives me room for my foot, especially as it's already wide, and has that cushion I'm looking for. So thank you very much, Go Through It, for the comment. John Wimmer, we got another comment from you, and I appreciate it because your feedback is really good. You're giving me quite a bit there. I do appreciate it. Says this was the second video of yours. I assume that means it's the second video you watched. That being said, I love that you refer to them as homily. You do you, hike your own hike, etc. Yeah, that's cool. As far as the hiker homily, where I got that, I wanted to have that kind of, I don't think it's called a rhyme, but you know how I mean, how, the two words have the same beginning sound, so they just kind of go well together. And so I tried to find another H word, and there's all kinds of stuff that's already been taken and stuff, so I tried to find the right title. And homily technically has a religious aspect to it. A homily is generally like a type of sermon that is delivered and things. And with my propensity to rant about topics, kind of like I'm standing on a pulpit. I totally admit it, you guys. I'm not going to hide that fact or not be transparent about it. I do rant about subjects like I'm standing behind the old podium. Sorry. Not sorry. But, yeah, so I kind of came on the word homily. So hiker homily just fit. I liked it. And, since it's kind of my religion now, hiking, it just kind of worked for me. So hiker homily, I thought it worked out pretty well. And it gives me an excuse to rant at something. So, we're going to move on to West Coast Hiking Trails. Thank you for the comment. And this is a comment about my road trip I did with my daughter when I went back to Georgia. She's going to college there. And we went to visit the gates of Camp Toccoa. You could not actually... oh, my goodness. The brain fart. You couldn't actually get into the gates. It was closed. It's only open on the weekends because they only have volunteers running that. And then we went to the military museum in the little town of Toccoa that's right there. And that was a lot of fun. And that whole area is kind of tied to, if you've ever watched the show Band of Brothers, it's tied to that because that's a true story, based on a true story. All the paratroopers in World War II, American paratroopers, were trained at Camp Toccoa, right in that area. And one of the things they had to do was run up Mount Currahee, 3 miles up, 3 miles down. They had to do it in this crazy amount of time, in full gear and pack and things like that. So, West Coast Hiking Trail says, very cool. Band of Brothers is one of my all-time favorite miniseries. I would definitely like to visit Camp Toccoa and climb Currahee. Thanks for the tour of the museum. You're very welcome. It was a fantastic museum. My daughter and I had a great time. I myself have a history degree. I ended up not doing a whole lot with it. I ended up getting to a totally different career, but history is still a love of mine. I just absolutely am fascinated by it. I still read a lot of history, do a lot of my own reading and research on just topics that I find fascinating. My daughter is a double major. She is also majoring in history and also majoring in film. And I think that's a really cool combination. And she just loves the World War II era and military history. That's awesome. So we had a great time. And I like to report that she went back with a friend of hers from college to actual Camp Toccoa and got to go in and look around. She said it was fantastic. Very cool. So if you get a chance to go there on the weekends, do it. They also do a fun run that I'd love to get my son to go to because he's totally a runner and things like that, where they do run up Currahee like once or twice a year. They hold an event where you run up Currahee and back down and stuff. One of these days I'm either going to run up it or I'm going to at least hike up Currahee to the top and then back down, and then I will buy myself. I got myself a military museum shirt because I went to the museum, but they also sell shirts that said I survived Currahee, 3 miles up, 3 miles down. I did not buy one of those because I have not earned it. And I'm going to someday go back and earn one of those shirts. But thank you, West Coast Hiking Trails. I totally agree. It was amazing. It was really fun. Fantastic museum if you get a chance to get out there and see it. We're going back to John Wimmer because he's a guy who likes to give me feedback, and I'm telling you what, I'm not saying that like in any kind of a bagging way. I appreciate the feedback, I really do. So John Wimmer, again, this is on oh my gosh, which hiker homily was it? Number 73, where I talked about alternative ways to kind of cut corners on some things. You don't want to cut corners on a few things you hike with or backpack with, but some things you can, and thrift stores was one way to do it. He suggests, and again, I want to put a little caveat in there that we are not advertising anything on this channel. We are not sponsored so far by anybody. If I ever do get sponsored, I will make sure you know when I'm telling you, hey, this is sponsored by. Okay? So no sponsors here. This is just word of mouth, how some people do it. And John suggests for troop loan gear. And as I said, I'm part of a local backpack, our local Boy Scout troop. Scouting troop, I guess, is the official name now. And sometimes a lot of the kids, they don't have their own backpacking gear. If we're going to take a troop backpacking trip, the ones who don't have gear, I have quite a bit to loan. The troop itself kind of has some gear that they can loan out to the kids, tents and backpacks and things like that. And so, a lot of the times it's good if you can find these things cheap. If I can find a cheap backpack, even though I don't personally need a backpack, if it's cheap enough, $10, $15, $20, I'm going to pick it up if it's in good shape, just to have it stored in my garage as either a backup or a loaner I can give to someone in the troop or a family member who decided, hey, I really want to try this. Can I borrow some gear? I have the gear to loan out. So for troop loan gear, a thing that I have done is getting on the Big 5 mailing list. Interesting idea. I'm going to try and do that, actually. They do daily flash sales, and one of those items that comes up regular is a 32-degree mummy bag that sells for $15, which is a regular $70. That's pretty good. 32 degrees is not going to do you much in certain areas for certain times, but for just general springtime, summertime camping or backpacking, that's a pretty good deal right there. 32 degrees should do you just well, and $15, that's a heck of a deal. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. I'll keep my eye out for that kind of thing. Get on that mailing list just to give it a shot. You know what I mean? For this comment, I'm going to go to Instagram, and both Terry Heliker and 5 Durga Zero. That's probably supposed to be Durga 50 or 50 Durga. I don't know. In regards to the Arnold Rim Trail hike I did, Terry Heliker says gorgeous, and 5 Durga Zero says one of my favorite hikes. And I gotta say, it was a cool hike because of the circumstances of my visit. The fact that I was with a bunch of runners who were going to go out and then run back something like 8 miles of the trail. The trail is actually a total of like 17. For those of you who don't know, the Arnold Rim Trail, obviously right there around the town of Arnold, near Big Trees, which is a great park to visit, was originally slated to be a large loop trail all along the rim of that area. And it's supposed to be something like 35, 40 miles, if I remember right. I hope I'm remembering right, because I don't like giving out misinformation. But I believe somewhere around there, 35, 40 miles was what they're trying to get it to be. So far, they've got about 16, 17 set down. So it's not quite complete. I was only able to do a few. I did like 3 out and back. Because the group I was with was going to do 5 out and then 5 back. But they were going to run. So I could not get too far out there, because if I got way out to where they were going to stop at, by that time they would have been there, had turned around and come back. And then since I was one of the 2 vehicles, they would be waiting for me quite a while before I got back. I didn't want to do that to them, because they were going to want to get home. And, these young folks, they just want to get home and do their things, especially after a long run. So I only went out a short distance, came back. I want to do more of that trail because it is absolutely amazing out there. Beautiful territory. So I totally agree with you guys. It is gorgeous. It is definitely a great hike. Thank you so much for that. I think I'm down to the last comment that I'm going to work on. And that is also from Instagram, Liz Catherine. And this is in regards to me posting the fact that I have my, once again, PCT long distance permit approved by the PCTA. She says, I assume she, because it's Liz Catherine. I am sorry if that's not true. I'll totally bite the bullet on that one. But congrats! Class of 2020 will have an epic adventure. 2 thumbs up. I agree. I think it's going to be cool. And for those of you who don't know, if you're not following me on Instagram, also Hiking for Health CA on Instagram, I did post a picture, a screen cap, that I did apply once again for the PCT long distance permit. I was approved. It is my full intention. I didn't want to just take a spot away from somebody. It is my full intention to do more than 500 miles. And it was my intention last year to do that. And unfortunately, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that didn't work out. And it's unfortunate. And I have not changed my plan. I am not planning on doing the entire trail. For the reasons I gave in the video, if you look at my PCT playlist, you'll see I did a video on here's what happened with the PCT and here's what my new plan for it is and things. And none of that has changed. I still don't want to do this long time away from the family. At this stage in the family, my son's going into his senior year. He's a junior now. He'll go into his senior year coming up next year. And with my daughter going to be coming back from college around that time and things like that, I grabbed an April 27th date. It is my full intention right at that point to start on April 27th. I'm going to do about 110 miles. I'm shooting for Warner Springs. Then I'm going to get off the trail, go back, see the family, have some fun, say hi to my daughter who's going to be coming back home from college, and then I'm going to jump on the trail somewhere else with a small break in between. I'm going to do so many miles, and I'm going to be doing that hopefully through the summer. I do intend on getting in hopefully more than 500 miles throughout the summer and into part of the fall, because I can do a lot of the northern Sierras and Lassen areas and stuff in the fall. That's what I'll be shooting for. So I did need a long distance permit because I plan on doing more than 500. I don't think that messes with their new rules. For those of you who aren't aware, the PCTA put kind of some new rules on there where, skipping certain parts and then going back to get those parts. And it kind of goes against the whole theory of the permits is to try to stretch out the numbers on the trail so we're not all big clumped in these giant groups. We're, spread out more thinly and things. And that's not my plan. My plan is not to get to a certain point, skip and do this, and then come back and do this. My plan is to try to do a certain amount that I'm going to get off the trail. I'm going to figure out about where I should be if I had kept going, jump on around there somewhere, do another significant portion of the trail, jump off, see my family, do things, get back on, That's my plan, and I don't plan on hitting the high Sierras or anything like that. I'll probably jump on like the northern Sierras, Tahoe area, Donner area, do a lot of that part of the trail, part of that kind of thing, and try and keep it about where I should be, if I had done a continuous path. And then I'll get, 500 miles of the trail done that way. And then I can go back another year and do others. And then some of the other stuff, like if I want to do the high Sierras part of it, then I can get a smaller permit for less distance from one of the local agencies just to do those sections. I won't have to worry about the PCTA permit just to do just the high Sierra portion or southern Sierra portion and just Yosemite. I'll get those local permits for those. So that's the plan. Kind of put it out there now, but that's what they're talking about. So I think 2020 will be cool. And of course I'll be filming all that stuff, so you'll be seeing different sections of the PCT coming out finally. Some PCT content, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. And oh my gosh, I've gone on and on, but those are the comments I wanted to go over. Thank you everyone who's giving me feedback. I definitely appreciate it, especially feedback on like gear reviews and trail reports. It just lets me know that the people are watching. I'm not doing it for the thumbs up. But it's neat when I see some people have given the video a thumbs up and things like that. But definitely the comments back are really cool. It's good feedback. I appreciate it. It lets me know that, hey, somebody found this interesting or appreciated this in some way. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And I don't know how long I've droned on. Probably way too long. But there it is. I will see you next time.